The car stopped working 3 hours ago. That part is over. What isn't over, what is still very much in play, is everything inside that machine that has nothing to do with the engine. People die next to dead cars every winter. They die from exposure, from cold, from dehydration, from failed signaling attempts. They die with their hands in their pockets standing next to a vehicle that contained, at the moment it stopped, at least 5 categories of recoverable resources that could have changed the outcome. Not gear from a bag in the trunk, not a kit someone told them to buy, the car itself. The assembly of materials they drove to work in every single day without ever seeing it for what it also was. What follows isn't a gear list. It's an inventory of what's already there and 5 things in every vehicle that almost no one thinks to touch when the situation turns serious. The 2021-95 snowstorm in Northern Virginia stranded hundreds of motorists for up to 24 hours on a single stretch of highway. Temperatures dropped below 20 degrees. People ran out of fuel trying to stay warm. Several required medical attention for cold exposure. The Virginia Department of Transportation confirmed that some vehicles were immobile within the first 2 hours of the event. Every one of those cars contained the same 5 categories of survival resources. None of them required the engine to run. None of them required any special training to access. This is not a hypothetical scenario built for a YouTube video. It happened. It will happen again. Marcus Thill is a field electrician. He drives a 10-year-old sedan, no emergency kit, because he's been meaning to put one together for about 3 years. On a January evening, his alternator fails on a rural 2-lane road 40 minutes from the nearest town, outside cell range. Temperature is 28 degrees and falling. His phone is at 11%. His first instinct is to sit and wait. That instinct will cost him the most valuable thing he has left, time. The battery in Marcus's car is a 12-volt lead-acid unit rated at approximately 550 cold cranking amps. The engine is dead. The battery is not. At 50% charge, which is roughly what a battery holds after a failed start attempt or two, it contains between 25 and 35 usable amp hours of stored electricity. A USB power inverter, the kind that costs $12 and plugs into the cigarette lighter, can draw from that battery continuously for 4 to 6 hours before meaningful voltage drop. That is 4 to 6 hours of phone charging, radio reception, or hazard light operation, all without the engine running. The dome light alone, left on as a signal, draws roughly 1 amp. It can run for hours. Marcus doesn't know this. He watches his phone die at the 40-minute mark. Know where your battery terminals are before you need them. Keep a 12-volt USB adapter in the center console, not the emergency bag you haven't packed yet. Understand that hazard lights draw approximately 5 amps. Use them in intervals, not continuously, to extend battery life. It's test your dome light weekly so you know its current condition. The engine is dead. The battery isn't. 31 minutes after shutdown, the engine block of a standard 4-cylinder vehicle drops from approximately 220 degrees to somewhere near 140. That window, the first 30 minutes after the engine stopped, is a thermal resource that closes and never reopens. In winter stranding scenarios documented in both military survival field manuals and wilderness medicine literature, the engine bay has been used to warm hands, prevent fingers from reaching the threshold of frost nip, and heat small metal containers of water placed against the block. Nadia Ferenczi is a search and rescue coordinator in a northern state, and she has processed 3 separate vehicle stranding reports where survivors cited engine bay warming as a factor in preventing extremity injury during overnight exposure. None of those survivors had any formal training. They figured it out. The mechanism is simple. Cast iron and aluminum retain heat through thermal mass, not combustion. The fire is already out. The heat is still there. You have 30 minutes to use it. Pop the hood the moment you decide the car is not restarting. Or to identify the valve cover or intake manifold, the upper surfaces of the engine that are accessible without reaching into moving parts because there are no moving parts anymore. Place ungloved hands near not on B, the block surface, to warm them. Use a metal water bottle against the block for the first 15 minutes if ambient temperature is below freezing. Do not lean over the battery when warming hands or battery off-gassing exists even in cold conditions. The engine is your last campfire. Use it before it goes cold. A standard passenger vehicle contains between 50 and 100 linear feet of rubber and silicone material. Weather stripping alone, the sealing gaskets around every door frame, accounts for 30 to 40 feet on most sedans. Add radiator hoses, vacuum lines, wiper blade inserts, and door edge guards, and the number climbs further. This isn't trivia. Rubber weather stripping has a documented burn rate in survival literature. It ignites at relatively low temperature, burns slowly, and produces a dense black smoke visible at significant distance during daylight hours. It is one of the most effective improvised signal fire accelerants available in a roadside scenario, used specifically because the smoke column reads as unnatural. Black, vertical, sustained, which is the visual signature search aircraft and highway patrol are trained to identify as a distress marker. Beyond fire, rubber tubing has tensile strength suitable for improvised cordage, lashing, or tourniquet use in documented field medicine cases. The multi-tool with a blade is not optional gear in a vehicle. It is the access key to these materials. Find the weather stripping on the B-pillar of your car, the center door frame post. It pulls free with moderate hand pressure. And practice the removal. Know it's possible. Know it takes under 60 seconds. Every door seal on that car is a resource decision waiting to be made. The side mirror on your car reflects visible light at a distance of up to 7 miles under direct sun, and almost no one who has ever driven one knows that. Military survival field manuals, including the U.S. Army's FM 2176, document improvised mirror signaling as one of the highest probability low-tech rescue triggers available to a stranded person. The technique requires no batteries, no phone signal, no flare, and no prior purchase. It requires a reflective surface and sunlight. Most vehicles carry 2 side mirrors, a rear view mirror, and a windshield that acts as a secondary diffusion reflector. The 1982 Air Florida Recovery Documentation and multiple documented wilderness SAR case reports cite mirror-based signaling in successful rescues. The side mirrors on most passenger vehicles are manually detachable. 3 to 5 screws or a single retention clip accessible with a flathead or multi-tool blade. You do not need to destroy the vehicle to access this resource. Remove the mirror, hold it in both hands. You use the 2-finger sighting technique. Extend 2 fingers toward the target at arm's length, tilt the mirror until the reflection crosses the gap, and you have a directional signaling device effective across miles of open terrain. Practice this once in your driveway. Once is enough. A signal mirror isn't gear, it's already bolted to the door. Automotive seat foam is closed-cell polyurethane, the same material class as the sleeping pad you'd pay $60 for at an outdoor retailer. The difference is that the car seat has been engineered for comfort, durability, and compression resistance, which means it retains structural loft under body weight better than most budget camping alternatives. In a 40-degree ambient environment without insulation, core body temperature drops between 1 and 2 degrees Fahrenheit per hour through conductive and convective loss. The ground is the primary threat, it's the spia, not the air. A person lying on bare asphalt or frozen ground loses heat through conduction at a rate several times faster than the same person elevated on even minimal insulating material. Rear bench seat cushions in most passenger vehicles are held in place by 2 to 4 friction clips or a single latch bar accessible by lifting the front edge of the cushion. No tools required. The cushion comes free in under 10 seconds in most models. One rear bench cushion placed beneath the body eliminates the conduction pathway to the ground. The seat back, removed similarly, becomes a windbreak or secondary insulation layer against the car door. Layer the seat bottoms under the body first, then the seat backs, then anything else. Floor mats, trunk liner, emergency kit contents if they exist. The air temperature is the variable you cannot control. The surface you sleep on is not. You're not sleeping in a broken car. You're sleeping in an insulation system. Here is what these 5 things have in common. None of them were installed by someone thinking about survival. The battery is there to start the engine. The coolant is there to prevent overheating. The rubber is there to seal out water and road noise. The mirrors are there to satisfy a federal visibility standard. The foam is there so the drive to work doesn't hurt your back. Every one of them was engineered for a purpose that has nothing to do with you surviving a roadside emergency. And yet every one of them works for that purpose anyway, completely, immediately, without modification, without purchase, without a course or a kit or a subscription to anything. So the question worth sitting with is this: if the vehicle you drive every day already contains the core materials needed to survive its own failure, then what does that say about where we've been told to look when we think about being prepared? The answer isn't in the next piece of gear. It's in the next honest look at what you already have. The battery holds usable electrical charge independent of the engine, enough for hours of USB power or signaling light with the right 12-volt adapter. Yet the engine block retains dangerous level heat for 30 minutes post-shutdown, a thermal window that closes permanently and can warm hands or water if used immediately. Rubber weather stripping and vehicle tubing provide improvised cordage, fire acceleration, and signal smoke material accessible with any blade. The side mirrors are military-standard reflective signaling devices already mounted to the car, detachable in under a minute, effective at distances exceeding 7 miles. He runs this inventory once. Who runs this inventory once? Who spends 20 minutes in their own driveway this week touching the mirror mount, lifting the rear seat cushion, locating the battery terminals, carries a different kind of knowledge into every drive they take after that. It is not emotional. It is procedural. It lives in the hands, not the anxiety. The person who does not run this inventory relies, in the moment that counts, on instinct. An instinct in a stranding scenario tells people to sit in the driver's seat and wait. Waiting is the mechanism of the outcome nobody wants to talk about. Sit in your car this week and run the inventory. Pull the hood release and find the terminals. Remove one side mirror and confirm you can reattach it. Now the knowledge is in your hands, not your head. You lift the rear seat cushion and set it back down. Locate the weather stripping on the B-pillar and pull a 6-inch section free. Carry a 12-volt USB adapter in the center console starting today. The car was never just transportation. It was always a survival system waiting for the engine to fail.